The excursion train to Peoria had just been wrecked. I might have escaped with my life. Certainly I should have escaped this place, but as it was burned as well, they mistook me for John Allen, who was sent to the Hebrew cemetery at Chicago, and John for me. So I lie here. It was bad enough to run a clothing store in this town, but to be buried here, seeds in a dry pot, tick, 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 like mites in a quarrel. Faint iambics that the full breeze wakens, but the pine tree makes a symphony thereof. Triolets, villanelles, rondelles, rondelles, but mates by the score with the same old thought. The snows and the roses of yesterday are vanished, and what is love but a rose that fades? Life all around me here in the village, tragedy, comedy, valor and truth, courage, constancy, heroism, failure, all in the loom. And oh, what patterns, woodlands, meadows, streams and rivers, blind to all of it all my life long. Triolets, villanelles, rondelles, rondelles.
Almost the shell of a woman after the surgeon's knife, and almost a year to creep back into strength, till the dawn of our wedding to Samuel found me my seeming self again. We walked the forest together by a path of soundless moss and turf, that I could not look in your eyes and you could not look in my eyes. For such sorrow as ours, the beginning of gray in your hair, and I but a shell of myself. And what did we talk of? Sky and water, anything, most to hide our thoughts. And then your gift of wild roses set on the table to grace our dinner. Poor heart, how bravely you struggle to imagine and live a remembered rapture. Then my spirit drooped as the night came on, and you left me alone in my room for a while, as you did when I was a bride. Poor heart, and I looked in the mirror and something said, one should be all dead when one is half dead, nor ever mock life, nor ever cheat love. And I did it looking there in the mirror. Dear, have you ever understood? Reverend Wiley advised me not to divorce him for the sake of the children, and Judge Summers advised him the same. So we stuck to the end of the path, but two of the children thought he was right, and two of the children thought I was right. And the two who sided with him blamed me, and two who sided with me blamed him. And they grieved for the one they sided with, and all were torn with the guilt of judging, and tortured in soul because they could not admire equally him and me. Now every gardener knows that plants grown in cellars or under stones are twisted and yellow and weak, and no mother would let her baby suck diseased milk from her breast. Yet preachers and judges advise the raising of souls where there is no sunlight but only twilight, no warmth but only dampness and cold. Preachers and judges, where there is no sunlight but only twilight, no warmth but only dampness and cold. To this generation I would say, memorize some bitter verse of truth or beauty. It may serve a turn in your life. My husband had nothing to do with the fall of the bank. He was only cashier. The wreck was due to the president, Thomas Rhodes, and his vain, unscrupulous son. Yet my husband was sent to prison, and I was left with the children to feed and clothe and school them. And I did it and sent them forth into the world all clean and strong, and all through the wisdom of Pope, a poet. Act well your part, there all the honor lies. Act well your part, there all the honor lies. And I did it and sent them forth into the world all clean and strong, and all through the wisdom of Pope the poet. Act well your part, there all the honor lies.
I preached 4,000 sermons, I conducted 40 revivals, and baptized many converts, yet no deed of mine shines brighter in the memory of the world, and none is treasured more by me. Look how I saved the blisses from divorce, and kept the children free from that disgrace. To grow up into moral men and women, happy themselves, a credit to the village. Happy themselves, a credit to the village. This I saw with my own eyes, a cliff swallow made her nest in a hole of the high clay bank. Then near Miller's Ford, but no sooner were the young hatched than a snake crawled up to the nest to devour the brood. Then the mother swallow with swift flutterings and shrill cries fought at the snake, blinding him with the beat of her wings, until he, wriggling and rearing his head, fell backward down the bank into the river and was drowned. Scarcely an hour passed until a shrike impaled the mother swallow on a thorn. As for myself, I overcame my lower nature, only to be destroyed by my brother's ambition. I had no objection at all to selling my household effects at auction on the village square. It gave my beloved flock the chance to get something which had belonged to me for a memorial, but that chunk which was struck off to Burker the grog keeper. Did you know it contained the manuscripts of a lifetime of sermons, and he burned them as waste paper? I had no objection at all to selling my household effects at auction on the village square. It gave my beloved flock the chance to get something which had belonged to me for a memorial. My valiant fight, for I call it valiant, with my father's beliefs from old Virginia, hating slavery but no less war, are full of spirit, audacity, courage, thrown into life here in Spoon River. With its dominant forces drawn from New England, Republicans, Calvinists, merchants, bankers hating me, yet fearing my arm, with wife and children heavy to carry. Yet fruits of my very zest of life, stealing odd pleasures that cost me prestige, and reap evils I had not sown. Foe of the church with its charnel dankness, friend of the human touch of the tavern, tangled with fates all alien to me, deserted by hands I called my own. Then just as I felt my giant strength short of breath, behold my children had wound their lives in stranger gardens, and I stood alone. As I started alone my valiant life, I died on my feet, facing the silence, facing the prospect that no one would know of the fight I made. And I stood alone as I started alone my valiant life. I died on my seat, facing the silence, facing the prospect that no one would know of the fight I made. Jonas Keeney fought his lot a hard one because his children were all failures. But I know of a fate more to trying than that lies. It is to be a failure while your children are successes. For I raised a brood of eagles who flew away at last, leaving me a crow on the abandoned bough. Then with the ambition to prefix honorable to my name, I do, and thus to win my children's admiration, I ran for county superintendent school, spending my accumulations to win and lost. That fall my daughter received first prize in Paris for her picture entitled "The Old Mary Was of the Wire Mill" before Henry Whitcomb put in steam. The feeling that I was not worthy of her finished me. The feeling that I was not worthy of her finished me, finished me. Why did Albert Skirting kill himself trying to be county superintendent of schools? Blessed as he was with the means of life and wonderful children, bringing him honor ere he was 60. If even one of my boys could have run a newsstand, or one of my girls could have married a decent man, I should not have walked in the rain and jumped into bed with clothes all wet, refusing medical aid, and jumped into bed with clothes all wet. They got me in to the Sunday school in Spoon River and tried to get me to drop Confucius for Jesus. I could have been no worse off if I had tried to get them to drop Jesus for Confucius. For without any warning, as if it were a prank, sneaking up behind me, Harry Wiley, the minister's son, caved my ribs into my lungs with a blow of his fist. Now I shall never sleep with my ancestors in Pekin, and no children shall worship at my grave. Now I shall never sleep with my ancestors in Pekin, and no children shall worship at my grave. Rich, honored by my fellow citizens, the father of many children, born of a noble mother, all raised there. In a great mansion house at the edge of town, note the cedar tree on the lawn. I sent all the boys to Ann Arbor, all of the girls to Rockford. But while my life went on, getting more riches and honors, resting under my cedar tree at evening, the years went on. I sent the girls to Europe, I dowered them when married. I gave the boys money to start in business. They were strong children, promising as apples before the bitten places show. But John fled the country in disgrace. Jenny died in childbirth, I sat under my cedar tree. Harry killed himself after a debauch, Susan was divorced. I sat under my cedar tree, Paul was invalided from overstudy. Mary became a recluse at home for love of a man. I sat under my cedar tree, all were gone, or broken winged, or devoured by life. I sat under my cedar tree. My maid, the mother of them, was taken. I sat under my cedar tree till 90 years were told. Oh, maternal earth, which rocks the fallen leaf to see, I sat under my cedar tree till 90 years were told.
Passerby, to love is to find your own soul through the soul of the beloved one. When the beloved one withdraws itself from your soul, then you have lost your soul. It is written, I'll have a friend, but my sorrow has no friend. Hence my long years of solitude at the home of my father, trying to get myself back and to turn my sorrow into a supremer self. But there was my father with his sorrows, sitting under the cedar tree, a picture that sank into my heart and last, bringing infinite repose. Oh, ye souls who have made life fragrant and white as tuberoses, from earth's dark soil, eternal peace. From earth's dark soil, eternal peace.
When I went to the city, Mary McNeely, I meant to return for you, yes I did. But Laura, my landlady's daughter, stole into my life somehow and won me away. Then after some years, whom should I meet but Georgie Minor from Niles, a sprout of the free love for forest gardens that flourished before the war all over Ohio. Her dilettante lover had tired of her, and she turned to me for strength and solace. She was some kind of a crier thing. One takes in one's arms, and all at once it slimes your face with its running nose and voids its essence all over you. Then bites your hand and springs away, and there you stand leading and slaying to heaven. Why, Mary McNeely, I was not worthy to kiss the hem of your robe. Why, Mary McNeely, I was not worthy to kiss the hem of your robe.
A stepmother drove me from home, embittering me. A squawman, a Flander, and dilettante took life virtue. For years I was his mistress. No one knew I learned from him the parasite cunning was nothing but very private with different men. Then Daniel, the radical, had me for years. His sister called me his mistress, and Daniel wrote me shameful words soiling our beautiful love. But my anger coiled, preparing its fangs. My lesbian friend next took a hand. She hated Daniel's sister, and Daniel despised her Mojit husband. And she saw a chance for a poisonous thrust. I must complain to the wife of Daniel's pursuit. But before I did that, I begged him to fly to London with me. Why not stay in the city just as we have? He asked. Then I took submarine and revenged his repulse in the arms of my dilettante friend. Then up to the surface, bearing the letter that Daniel wrote me, to prove my honor was all intact, showing it to his wife, my lesbian friend, and everyone. If Daniel had only shot me dead, instead of stripping me naked of lies, a harlot in body and soul. If Daniel had only shot me dead, instead of stripping me naked of lies, a harlot in body and soul.
Very well, you liberals and navigators into realms intellectual, you sailors through heights imaginative, blown about by erratic currents, tumbling into air pockets. You Margaret Fuller slacks, Batiste and Tennessee Claflin shows, you found with all your boasted wisdom how hard at the last it is to keep the soul from splitting into cellular atoms, while we, seekers of earth's treasures, getters and hoarders of gold, are self-contained, compact, harmonized, even to the end.
I lost my patronage in Spoon River from trying to put my mind in the camera to catch the soul of the person. The very best picture I ever took was of Judge Summers, attorney at law. He sat upright and he had me pause till he got his cross eyes straight. Then, when he was ready, he said, "All right." And I yelled, "Overruled," and his eye turned up. And I caught him just as he used to look, saying, "I accept."
Well, I was handling Don Pedro. I got at the thing that divides the race between men who are for singing turkey in the straw, or there is a fountain filled with blood.
There is a fountain filled with blood.
Like Ralph Potter used to sing it over at Concord. For cars or for F, Pete's lecture on the Holy Land. For skipping the light fantastic, or passing the plate. For pinafore or a Sunday school cantata. For man or for money, for the people or against them. This was it, Rev Pete and the Social Purity Club, headed by Ben Pennier's wife, went to the village trustees and asked them to make me take Don Pedro from the barn of Wash McNeely, there at the edge of town, to a barn outside of the corporation, on the ground that it corrupted public morals. Well, Ben Penier and Fiddler Jones saved the day. They thought it a slam on Colts. They thought it a slam on Colts. started to slam on toes.
I grew spiritually fat, living off the souls of men. If I saw a soul that was strong, I wounded its pride and devoured its strength. The shelters of friendship knew my cunning. Oh, for where I could steal a friend that did so, and wherever I could enlarge my power by undermining ambition, I did so. Thus to make smooth my own, and to triumph over other souls, just to assert and prove my superior strength. Was with me a delight, the keen exhilaration of soul gymnastics, devouring souls I should have lived forever. But their undigested remains bred in me a deadly nephritis, with fear, restlessness, sinking spirits, hatred, suspicion, vision disturbed. I collapsed at last with a shriek. Remember the acorn, it does not devour other acorns.
I was a peasant girl from Germany, blue-eyed, rosy, happy and strong. And the first place I worked was at Thomas Green's on a summer's day when she was away. He stole into the kitchen and took me right in his arms and kissed me on my throat. I turning my head, then neither of us seemed to know what happened, and I cried for what would become of me, and cried as my secret began to show. One day Mrs. Green said she understood and would make no trouble for me, and being childless would adopt it. He had given her a farm to be still, so she hid in the house and sent out rumors as if it were going to happen to her. And all went well and the child was born. They were so kind to me. Later I married Gus Workman and years passed, but at political rallies when sitters-by thought I was crying at the eloquence of Hamilton Green. That was not it. No, I wanted to say, that's my son, that's our son, that's our son.
I was the only child of Francis Harris of Virginia and Thomas Green of Kentucky. A valiant and honorable blood, both. To them I owe all that I became: judge, member of Congress, leader in the state. From my mother I inherited vivacity, fancy language. From my father will, judgment, logic. All honor to them for what service I was to the people. For what service I was to the people. From my mother I inherited vivacity, fancy language. From my father will, judgment, logic. All honor to them for what service I was to the people. For what service I was to the people. My mind was a mirror. It saw what it saw, it knew what it knew. In youth my mind was just a mirror in a rapidly flying car, which catches and loses bits of the landscape. Then in time, great scratches were made on the mirror, letting the outside world come in and letting my inner self look out. For this is the birth of the soul in sorrow, a birth with gains and losses. The mind sees the world as a thing apart, and the soul makes the world at one with itself. A mirror scratched reflects no image, and this is the silence of wisdom. And the soul makes the world at one with itself. A mirror scratched reflects no image. Oh, many times did Ernest Hyde and I argue about the freedom of the will. My favorite metaphor was Pricket's cow, roped out to grass and free, you know, as far as the length of the rope. One day while arguing so, watching the cow pull out the rope to get beyond the circle which she had eaten bare, out came the stake and tossing up her head, she ran for us. What's that, free will or what? Said Ernest, running. I fell just as she gored me to my death. I fell just as she gored me to my death. Not character, not fortitude, not patience were mine, to which the village thought I had in bearing with my wife while preaching on doing the work God chose for me. I loathed her as a termagant, as a wanton. I knew of her adulteries, everyone, but even so, if I divorced the woman, I must forsake the ministry. Therefore, to do God's work and have it crop, I bore with her. So lied I to myself, so lied I to Spoon River. Yet I tried lecturing, ran for the legislature, canvassed for books with just the thought in mind, if I make money thus, I will divorce her.
The secret of the stars, gravitation. The secret of the earth, layers of rock. The secret of the soil, to receive seed. The secret of the seed, the germ. The secret of man, the sower. The secret of woman, the soil. My secret under a mound that you shall never find. The secret of the stars, gravitations. The secret of the earth, layers of rock. The secret of the soil, to receive seed. The secret of the seed, the germ. The secret of man, the soul. The secret of woman, the soil. My secret under a mound that you shall never find.
I was crushed between alt guild and armor. I lost many friends, much time and money, fighting for alt guild whom Midderwedden denounced as the candidate of gamblers and anarchists. Then honor started to ship dressed meat to Spoon River, forcing me to shut down my slaughterhouse, and my butcher shop went all to pieces. The new forces of Altgeld and armor caught me. At the same time, I thought it due me to recoup the money I lost, and to make good the friends that left me, for the governor to appoint me canal commissioner. Instead, he appointed Widom of the Spoon River Argus. So I ran for the legislature and was elected. I said to hell with principle and sold my vote on Charles C. X streetcar franchise. Of course I was one of the fellows they caught. Who was it? Armored, Altgeld, or myself that ruined me? Of course I was one of the fellows they caught. A chaplain in the army, a chaplain in the prisons, an exhorter in Spoon River, drunk with divinity, Spoon River. Yet bringing poor Eliza Johnson to shame, and myself to scorn and wretchedness. But why will you never see that love of women, and even love of wine? are the stimulants by which the soul, hungering for divinity, reaches the ecstatic vision and sees the celestial outposts. Only after many trials for strength, only when all stimulants fail, does the aspiring soul, by its own sheer power, find the divine. By resting upon itself, only when all stimulants fail, does the aspiring soul, by its own sheer power, find the divine.
Yes, here I lie close to a stunted rose bush, in a forgotten place near the fence, where the thickets from Seaver's woods have crept over, growing sparsely. And you are a leader in New York, the wife of a noted millionaire, a name in the society columns, beautiful, admired, magnified perhaps. By the mirage of distance, you have succeeded, I have failed in the eyes of the world. You are alive, I am dead, yet I know that I vanquished your spirit, and I know that lying here far from you, unheard of among your great friends, in the brilliant world where you move, I am really the unconquerable power over your life that robs it of complete triumph. I am really the unconquerable power over your life that robs it of complete triumph.
As to democracy, fellow citizens, are you not prepared to admit that I, who inherited riches and was to the manor born, was second to none in Spoon River? In my devotion to the cause of liberty, while my contemporary Anthony Findlay, born in a shanty and beginning life as a water carrier to the section hands, then becoming the section hand when he was grown, afterwards forming up a gang until he rose to the superintendency of the railroad. Living in Chicago, was a veritable slave driver, grinding the faces of labor and a bitter enemy of democracy. And I say to you, Spoon River, and to you, O Republic, beware of the man who rises to power from one suspender.
Ye aspiring ones, listen to the story of the unknown, who lies here with no stone to mark the place. As a boy reckless and wanton, wandering with gun in hand through the forest, near the mansion of Aaron Hatfield, I shot a hawk perched on the top of a dead tree. He fell with guttural cry at my feet, his wing broken. Then I put him in a cage where he lived many days, cawing angrily at me when I offered him food. Daily I searched the realms of Hades for the soul of the hawk, that I may offer him the friendship of one whom life wounded and caged. Alexander Throckmorton, in youth, my wings were strong and tireless, but I did not know the mountains. In age I knew the mountains, but my weary wings could not follow my vision.
Genius is wisdom and youth, wisdom and youth, wisdom and youth.
After you have enriched your soul to the highest point with books, thought, suffering, the understanding of many personalities, the power to interpret glances, silences, the pauses in momentous transformations, the genius of divination and prophecy, so that you feel able at times to hold the world in the hollow of your hand, that if by the crowding of so many powers into the compass of your soul takes fire, and in the conflagration of your soul, the evil of the world is lighted up and made clear. Be thankful if in that hour of supreme vision, life does not fiddle.
I was the widow McFarlane, weaver of carpets for all the village. And I pity you still at the loom of life, you who are singing to the shuttle and lovingly watching the work of your hands. If you reach the bay of hate, of terrible truth, for the cloth of life is woven, you know, to a pattern hidden under the loom, a pattern you never seen. And you weave high-hearted, singing, singing. You guard the threads of love and friendship from noble figures in gold and purple. And long after other eyes can see, you have woven a moon-white strip of cloth. You laugh in your strength, for hope overlays it with shapes of love and beauty. The loom stops short, the pattern's out. You're alone in the room. You have woven a shroud, and hate of it lays you in it. You're alone in the room. You have woven a shroud, and hate of it lays you in it.
The press of the spoon, River Clarion, was wrecked, and I was tarred and feathered for publishing this on the day the anarchists were hanged in Chicago. They saw a beautiful woman with bandaged eyes standing on the steps of a marble temple. Great multitudes passed in front of her, lifting their faces to her imploringly. In her left hand she held a sword. She was brandishing the sword, sometimes striking a child, again a laborer, again a slinking woman, again a lunatic. In her right hand she held and scaled. Into the scale pieces of gold were tossed by those who dodged the strokes of the sword. A man in a black gown read from a manuscript. She is no respecter of persons. Then a youth wearing a red cap leaped to her side and snatched away the bandage. And lo, the lashes had been eaten away. From the oozy eyelids, the eyeballs were seared with a milky mucus. The madness of a dying soul was written on her face, but the multitude saw why she wore the bandage.
to be able to see every side of every question, to be on every side, to get everything, to be nothing long, to pervert truth, to write it for the purpose, to use great feelings and passions of the human family, for base designs, for cutting ends, to wear a mask like the Greek actors, your 8-page paper behind which you huddle, bawling through the megaphone of big type. This is I, the giant, the bio, so living the life of a sneak thief, poisoned with the anonymous words of your clandestine soul, to scratch dirt over scandal for money and exhume it to the winds for revenge, or to sell papers, crushing reputations, or bodies if need be, to win at any cost, save your own life, to glory in the maniac power, ditching civilization as a paranoiac boy puts a log on the track and derails the express train. To be an editor, as I was, then to lie here close by the river, over the place where the sewage flows from the village, and the empty cans and garbage are dumped. And abortions are hidden, and abortions are hidden, and the empty cans and garbage are dumped.
We owed slaves selling shoes in gingham flour and bacon, overalls, clothing all day long for 14 hours a day, for 313 days, for more than 20 years, saying yes, I'm in, yes sir, and thank you 1,000 times a day, and all for $50 a month. Living in this stinking room in the rattle trap commercial, and compelled to go to Sunday school and to listen to a Rebbe beat 104 times a year for more than an hour at a time, because Thomas Rhodes ran the church as well as the store and the bank. So while I was tying my necktie that morning, I suddenly saw myself in the glass, my hair all gray, my face like a sodden pie. So I cursed and cursed. You damn old thing, you cowardly dog, you rotten pauper, you rodent slave till Roger Bauman thought I was having a fight with someone, and looked to the transom just in time to see me fall on the floor in a heap from a broken vein in my head. To see me fall on the floor in a heap from a broken vein in my head.
Sudden death of Eugene Carmen put me in line to be promoted to $50 a month, and I told my wife and children that night, but it didn't come, and so I thought Old Road suspected me of stealing the blankets I took and sold on the side for money to pay a doctor's bill for my little girl. Then like a bolt, Old Roads accused me and promised me mercy for my family's sake if I confessed, and so I confessed and begged him to keep it out of the papers. And I asked the editors too. That night at home the constable took me, and every paper except the Clarion wrote me up as a thief, because Old Roads was an advertiser. Oh, I want to make an example of me. Oh, well, you know how the children cried, and how my wife pitied and hated me, and how I came to lie here and wanted to make an example of me.
Vegetarian, non-resistant, free thinker, in ethics a Christian, already wrapped at the rhinestone, rhythm a lingers, oh, carnivorous scavenger, believer and pagan, continent promiscuous, changeable, treacherous, vain, proud hunt. With a pride that makes struggle a thing for laughter, with heart cored out by the worm of fear, trek despair, wearing the coat of indifference to hide the shame of defeat. I child of the abolitionist idealism, a sort of brand in a birth of half and half. What other thing could happen when I defended the patriot scamps who burned the courthouse? That Spoon River might have a new one, then plead them guilty when Kinsey Keene drove through the cardboard mask of my life with a spear of light. What could I do but slink away like the beast of myself, which I raised from a whelp to a corner and growl? The pyramid of my life was not but a doom, barren and formless, spoiled at last by the storm. The pyramid of my life was not but a doom, barren and formless, song. Everyone laughed at Cole Pritchard for buying an engine so powerful that it wrecked itself and wrecked the grinder he ran it with. But here is a joke of cosmic size: the urge of nature that made a man evolve from his brain a spiritual life. Oh, miracle of the world! The very same brain with which the ape and wolf get food and shelter and procreate themselves.
All they said was true. I wrecked my father's bank with my loans to dabble in wheat. But this was true, I was buying wheat for him as well, who couldn't merge in the deal in his name because of his church relationship. And while George Reese was serving his term, I chased the willow, the wisp of women, and the mockery of wine in New York. It's deathly to sicken of wine and women when nothing else is left in life. But suppose your head is gray and bowed on a table covered with acrid studs of cigarettes and empty glasses, and a knock is heard and you know it's the knock so long drowned out by popping corks and the peacock screams of demi-reps. And you look up and there's your theft who waited until your head was gray and your heart skipped beats to say to you, and the game is ended, I've called for you. Go out on Broadway and be run over, they'll ship you back to Spoon River. Go out on Broadway and be run over, they'll ship you back to Spoon River.
It was just like everything else in life. Something outside myself drew me down. My own strength never failed me. Why? There was the time I earned the money with which to go away to school, and my father suddenly needed help, and I had to give him all of it. Just so it went till I ended up a man of all work in Spoon River. Thus when I got the water tower cleaned and they hauled me up the 70 feet, I unhooked the rope from my waist and laughingly flung my giant arms over the smooth steel lips of the top of the tower. But they slipped from the treacherous slime, and down, down, down I plunged the bellowing darkness. But they slipped from the treacherous slime, and down, down, down I plunged through bellowing darkness. Down, down, down I plunged through bellowing darkness.
I was sick, but more I was mad at the crooked police and the crooked game of life. So I wrote to the chief of police at Peoria, Ellen here in my girlhood home in Spoon River, gradually wasting away. But come and take me, I killed the son of the merchant prince in Madame Lou's, and the papers that said he killed himself in his home while cleaning a hunting gun lie like the devil to hush up scandal for the bribe of advertising. In my room I shot him at Madame Lou's because he knocked me down when I said that in spite of all the money he had, I'd see my lover that night. That in spite of all the money he had, I'd see my lover that night.
I staggered on through darkness. There was a hazy sky, a few stars, which I followed as best I could. It was 9 o'clock, I was trying to get home, but somehow I was lost, though really keeping the road. Then I reeled through a gate and into a yard and called at the top of my voice, "Oh, fiddler, oh, Mr. Jones." I thought it was his house, and he would show me the way home. But who should step out but A.D. Blood in his nightshirt, waving a stick of wood and roaring about the cursed saloons and the criminals they made. "You drunken Oscar Hummel," he said, as I stood there, weaving to and fro, taking the blows from the stick in his hand, till I dropped down dead at his feet. I was well known and much beloved, and rich as fortunes are reckoned. In Spoon River, where I had lived and worked, that was the home for me. Though all my children have flown afar, which is the way of nature all but one, the boy who was the baby stayed at home to be my help in my failing years, and the solace of his mother. But I grew weaker as he grew stronger, and he quarreled with me about the business, and his wife said I was a hindrance to it, and he wanted his mother to see as he did, till they tore me up, T.O.B. transplanted with him to her girlhood home in Missouri. And so much of my fortune was gone at last, though I made the will just as he drew it. She loved me, oh how she loved me. I never had a chance to escape from the day she first saw me. But then after we were married, I thought she might prove her mortality and let me out, or she might divorce me. But few died, none resigned. Then I ran away
and was gone a year on a lark. But she never complained. She said all would be well, that I would return. And I did return. I told her that while taking a row in a boat, I had been captured near Van Buren Street by pirates on Lake Michigan, and kept in chains so I could not write her. She cried and kissed me and said it was cruel, outrageous, inhuman. I then concluded our marriage was a divine dispensation and could not be dissolved except by death. I was right, was a divine dispensation and could not be dissolved except by death. I was right.
He ran away and was gone for a year. When he came home, he told me the silly story of being kidnapped by pirates on Lake Michigan and kept in chains so he could not ride me. I pretended to believe it, though I knew very well what he was doing, and that he met a millionaire, Mrs. Williams. Now and then, when she went to the city to buy goods, as she said, but a promise is a promise, and marriage is marriage. And out of respect for my own character, I refuse to be drawn into a divorce by the scheme of a husband who had merely grown tired of his marital vow and duty, of his marital vow and duty. Kessler, you know, I was in the army, and he drew $6 a month as a pension, and stood on the corner talking politics, or sat at home reading Grant's memoirs. And I supported the family by watching, learning the secrets of all the people, from their curtains, counterpanes, shirts and skirts, for things that are new grow old at length. They're replaced with better or none at all. People are prospering or falling back, and rents and patches widen with time. No thread or needle can paste decay, and there are stains that baffle so, and there are colors that run inside of you. Blame though you are for spoiling a dress, handkerchiefs, napery have their secrets. The laundress, life knows all about it, and I who went to all funerals held in Spoon River swear I never saw a dead face without thinking it looked like something washed in iron.
Now rose out of the lights and the roar of cities, drifting down like a spark in Spoon River, burnt out with the fire of drink and broken, the paramour of a woman I took in self-contempt, but to hide a wounded pride as well, to be judged and loathed by a village of little minds I gifted with tongues and wisdom, sunk here to the dust of the justice court, a picker of rags in the rubbish of spites and wrongs, a whom fortune smiled on in a village, spouting to gaping yokels pages of verse out of the lore of golden years, or raising a laugh with a flash of filthy wit when they bought the drinks to kindle my dying mind to be judged by you. The soul of me hidden from you, with its wound gangrened by love for a wife who made the wound with her cold white bosom. Treasonous, pure and hard, relentless to the last, while a touch of her hand at any time might have cured me of the typhus caught in the jungle of life. Treasonous, pure and hard, relentless to the last, when the touch of her hand at any time might have cured me of the typhus caught in the jungle of life, where many are lost, and only to think that my soul could not react like Ovid is song in something noble but turned on itself like a tortured snake. Judge me this way, oh world, but turned on itself like a tortured snake. Judge me this way, oh world.
I'll wage my bird, though he flew toward the setting sun. But just as the shot rang out, he soared up and up through the splinters of golden light, till he turned right over, feathers ruffled, with some of the down up and floating near, and fell like a plummet into the grass. I tramped about, parting the tangles, till I saw a splash of blood on a stump, and the quail lying close to the rotten roots. I reached my hand, but saw no briar, but something pricked and stung and numbed it. And then in a second, I spied the rattler, the shutters wide in his yellow eyes. The head of him arched, sunk back in the rings of him, a circle of filth, the color of ashes, or oak leaves bleached under layers of leaves. I stood like a stone as he shrank and uncoiled and started to crawl beneath the stump. When I fell limp in the grass beneath the stump, when I fell limp in the grass. I have two monuments besides this granite obelisk. One, the house I built on a hill, with its spires, bay windows, and roof of slate. The other, the lakefront in Chicago, where the railroad keeps a switching yard, with whistling engines and crunching wheels, and smoke as soot thrown over the city, and the crash of cars along the boulevard. A blot like a hog pen on the harbor of a great metropolis, foul as a sty. I helped to give this heritage to generations yet unborn with my vote in the House of Representatives. And the lure of the thing was to be at rest from a never-ending fright of need, and to give my daughters gentle breeding and a sense of security in life. But you see, though I had the mansion house and traveling passes and local distinction, I could hear the whispers, whispers, whispers wherever I went. And my daughters grew up with a look as if someone were about to strike them. And they married madly, helter-skelter, just to get out and have a change. And what was the whole of the business worth? Why wasn't worth a damn?
I was the daughter of Lambert Hutchins, born in a cottage near the grist mill, reared in the mansion there on the hill, with its spires, bay windows, and roof of slate. How proud my mother was of the mansion, how proud her father's rise in the world, and how my father loved and watched us and guarded our happiness. But I believe the house was a curse, for father's fortune was little beside it. And when my husband found he had married a girl who was really poor, he taunted me with aspires and called the house a fraud on the world, a treacherous lure to young men raising hopes of a dowry not to be had. And a man, while selling his vote, should get enough from the people's betrayal to wall the whole of his family in. He vexed my life till I went back home and lived like an old maid till I died, keeping house for father, and lived like an old maid till I died, keeping house for father, and lived like an old maid till I died, keeping house. My name used to be in the papers daily as having dined somewhere or traveled somewhere or rented a house in Paris where I entertained the nobility. I was forever eating or traveling or taking the cure at Baden-Baden. Now I am here to do honor to Stone River, here beside the family whence I sprang. No one cares now where I dined or lived, or whom I entertained, or how often I took the cure at Baden-Baden.
How did you feel, you libertarians, who spent your talents rallying noble reasons around the saloon, as if liberty was not to be found anywhere except at the bar or at a table guzzling? How did you feel then, Pantier, and the rest of you who almost stoned me for a tyrant, garbed as a moralist and as a wry-faced ascetic, frowning upon Yorkshire pudding, roast beef and ale, and goodwill and rosy cheer, things you never saw in a grog shop in your life. How did you feel after I was dead and gone, and your goddess Liberty unmasked as a strumpet, sailing out the streets of Spoon River to the insolent giants who manned the saloons from afar? Did it occur to you that personal liberty is liberty of the mind, rather than of the belly is liberty of the mind? My parents thought that I would be as great as Edison or greater, for as a boy I made balloons and wondrous kites and toys with clocks.
and little engines with tracks to run on, and telephones of cans and thread. I played the cornet and painted pictures, modeled in clay and took the part of the villain in the octoroon. But then at 21 I married and had to live. And so to live, I learned the trade of making watches and kept the jewelry store on the square. Thinking, 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 not of business, but of the engine. I studied the calculus to build, and all Spoon River watched and waited to see it work, but it never worked. And a few kind souls believed my genius was somehow hampered by the store. It wasn't true. The truth was this: I did not have the brains. I was a lawyer like Harlan Whitney, or Kinsey Keeney, or Garrison Standard. For I tried the rights of property, although by lamplight, for 30 years in that poker room in the opera house. And I say to you that life's a gambler, head and shoulders above us all. No mayor alive can close the house, and if you lose, you can squeal as you will. You'll not get back your money. He makes the percentage hard to conquer. He stacks the cards to catch your weakness and not to meet your strength. And he gives you 70 years to play. For if you cannot win in 70, you cannot win at all. So if you lose, get out of the room. Get out of the room when your time is up. It's mean to sit and fumble the cards and curse your losses, leading eye, wanting to try and try, try and try. If the learned Supreme Court of Illinois got at the secret of every case, as well as it do is a case of rape, it would be the greatest court in the world. A jury of neighbors, mostly with butch welding, asked for and found me guilty in 10 minutes. And 2 ballots on a case like this. Richard Bandel and I had trouble over a fence, and my wife and Mrs. Bandel quarreled as to whether Ipava was a finer town than Table Grove. I awoke one morning with the love of God brimming over my heart, so I went to see Richard to settle the fence in the spirit of Jesus Christ. I knocked on the door, and his wife opened joy. She smiled and asked me in, I entered. She slammed the door and began to scream, "Take your hands off, you low-down varlet." Just then, her husband entered. I waved my hands, choked up with words. He went for his gun, and I ran out. But neither the Supreme Court nor my wife believed a word she said. I wanted to go away to college, but a rich and persist wouldn't help me. So I made gardens and raked the lawns, and bought John Alden's books with my earnings, and toiled for the very means of life. I wanted to marry
Delia Prickett. But how could I do it with what I earned? And there was Aunt Persis, more than 70, who sat in a wheelchair half alive, with her throat so paralyzed. When she swallowed, the soup ran out of her mouth like a duck, a gourmand yet investing her income in mortgages, fretting all time about her notes and rents and papers. That day I was sawing wood for her and reading proud on In Between. I went in the house for a drink of water, and there she sat asleep in her chair, and proud on lying on the table, and a bottle of chloroform on the book she used sometimes for an aching tooth. I poured the chloroform on a handkerchief and held it to her nose till she died. Oh, Delia, you were proud on, steadied my hand, and the coroner said she died of heart failure. I married Delia and got the money, a joke on you, Spoon River.
How would I have thrust my hands of flesh into the disc, flowers be infested, into the mirror like core of fire, of the light of life, the sun of delight. For what are anthers worth for petals or halo rays, mockery shadows of the heart of the flower, the central flame, all is yours. Young passerby, enter the banquet room with the thought, don't sidle in as if you were doubtful whether you're welcome. The feast is yours, nor take but a little, refusing more with a bashful thank you. When you're hungry, is your soul alive? Then let it feed. Leave no balconies where you can climb, nor milk white bosoms where you can rest, nor golden heads with pillows to share, no wine cups while the wine is sweet, nor ecstasies of body or soul. You will die, no doubt, but die while living in depths of azure, wrapped and mated, kissing the queen bee, life kissing the queen bee.
Reading in Ovid, the sorrowful story of Ides, son of the love of Tereus and Procne slain, for the guilty passion of Tereus, fair Philomela. The flesh of him served to Tereus by Procne, and the wrath of Tereus the murderous pursuing, till the gods made Philomela a nightingale, lute of the rising moon, and Procne a swallow. Oh, livers and artists of Hellas, centuries gone, sailing in little Thurible's dreams and wisdom, incense beyond all price, forever fragrant, the breath whereof makes clear the eyes of the soul. How I inhaled its sweetness here in Spoon River. The terrible opening when I had lived and learned how all of us kill the children of love, and all of us, knowing not what we do, devour their flesh. And all of us change to singers, although it be but once in our lives, or change, alas, to swallows, to wither amid cold winds and falling leaves, amid cold winds and falling leaves.
Observe here the clasp hands. Are they hands of farewell or greeting? Hands that I helped, or hands that helped me? Would it not be well to carve a hand with an inverted thumb, like Elagabalus, and yonder is a broken chain? The weakest link idea perhaps, but what was it? And lands some lying dying, others standing as if listening to the shepherd, others bearing a cross, one foot lifted up. Why not chisel a few shambles and fallen columns? Carve the pedestal, please, or the foundations. Let us see the cause of the fall, and compasses and mathematical, in instruments, in irony of the undue tenets, ignorance of determinants, and the calculus of variations, and anchors for those who never sailed, in gates ajar. Yes, so they were. You left them open, and stray goats entered your garden, and an eye watching like wild the Aramasty. So did you, with one eye, and angels blowing trumpets. You are heralded, it is your horn, and your angel, and your family's instrument. It is all very well, but for myself I know I stood certain vibrations is the river, which are my true epitaph, more lasting than stone.
I tried to win the nomination for president of the county board, and I made speeches all over the county denouncing Solomon Purple, my rival, as an enemy of the people, in league with the master, foes of man. Young idealist, broken warriors, hobbling on one crutch of hope, souls that stake their all on the truth, losers of worlds at heaven's bidding, flocked about me and followed my voice as the savior of the county. But Solomon won the nomination, and then I faced about and rallied my followers to his standard, and made him victor, made him king of the golden mountain with the door, which closed on my heels just as I entered, flattered by Solomon's invitation to be the county board secretary. And out in the cold stood all my followers, Young idealists, broken warriors, hobbling on one crutch of hope. Souls that stake their all on the truth, illusions of worlds at heaven's bidding, watching the devil kick the millennium over the golden mountain. Horses and men are just alike. There was my stallion, Billy Lee, black as a cat and trim as a deer, with an eye of fire, keen to start. And he could hit the fastest speed of any race around Spoon River. But just as you'd think he couldn't lose, with his lead at 50 yards or more, he'd rear himself and throw the rider and fall back over, tangled up, completely gone to pieces. You see, he was a perfect fraud. He couldn't win, he couldn't work. He was too light to haul or plow with nose, and no one wanted coats from him. And when I tried to drive him, well, he ran away and killed me. And when I tried to drive him, there would be a knock at the door, and I would arise at midnight and go to the shop where belated travelers would hear me hammering sepulchral boards and tacking satin. And often I wondered who would go with me to the distant land. Our names the theme for talk in the same week. For I've observed two always go together. Chase Henry was paired with Edith Conant, and Jonathan Summers with Willie Metcalf, and Editor Hammond with Francis Turner, when he prayed to live longer than Editor Whedon, and Thomas Rhodes with Widow McFarling, and Emily Sparks with Barry Holden, and Oscar Hummel with Javis Matlock, and Editor Whedon with Fiddler Jones, and Faith Matheny with Jerkus Gustine. And I, the solemnest man in town, stepped off with Daisy Fraser, stepped off with Daisy Fraser, stepped off with Daisy Fraser.
Herman, Bert, Tom and Charlie, the weak of will, the strong of arm, the clown, the boozer, the fighter, all all are sleeping on a hill. One passed in a fever, one was burned in a mine, one was killed in a brawl, one died in a jail, one fell from a bridge toiling for children and wife. All are sleeping, sleeping, sleeping on the hill. Where are evocative magazine eater, the tender heart, the simple soul, the loud, the proud, the happy one? Oh, all are sleeping on a hill.